Welcome back. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that music break a great deal. We played some fantastic tracks. And in the meantime, I'm going to make sure that Sean is allowed to talk again. There we go. I've let you out of the cage.
Yay, I've been unmuted. I'm alive. Hey, I thought the music was cool too. Woo!
It was some really great stuff from many things. I also have a few of our winners. These are BioShock Infinite here. I've picked 3, and we'll pick 2 more a little bit later on. We were asking for an acronym for TRLDM, which is Trolldom. That is the clan that Snoot has been using with him and 2 other Norwegians. However, I picked 3 winners that I really liked. The first one, he actually sent in several entries, but I like 2 of them in particular. It's from Solid Nua. He says TRLDM means Terran rules, latency doesn't matter. He also put in tactical roaches lack decent micro, which may also be true. So we're going to send you a copy of BioShock Infinite, Solid Nua. Also, from Evire, toss redemption leaving David's mouth. I like that one a bit.
Damn, that's so moody.
Yeah, too edgy 5 me. That was impressive. So I'm going to give you BioShock Infinite, which is a game which is also too edgy 5 me. And Thor's repel drones, lings, and muters from Commander. They are pretty good at killing drones. I'll give you credit for that. An underused function of the Thor, I feel. So congratulations to Commander, who will also be receiving a copy of BioShock Infinite. I will get that stuff sent out later in the broadcast when I actually have the time, and we'll pick 2 more winners a little bit later on.
Ooh.
However, the Clash of the Titans, the old country, right here. We've got Russia versus the Ukraine, and it's going to be opening up with Titan versus Cass on the biggest map in the pool, Altazim.
Dude, this map is so big, I genuinely think Cass is going to do some serious work here. Titan is a player who likes to, even though he might strike you as a passive player in some of his games, or as like, I don't know why you would think that if you watched him play. You know what? I think I began the sentence wrong, John, and I'd like to begin a different sentence.
As you wish.
So, here we go. Titan likes to do really slick attack maneuvers. A passive example of which is going 3 base, ultra fast 3-3 versus Terran, and winning with 1 big death ball push. He's done that before, but most notably he likes to do warp prism harass, little cutesy pokey antics. But this map is huge, so huge. I think that a lot of those pushes, whatever they may be, are going to be problematic. So I think lighter harass, storm drops, more expanding, more cannons will be the key.
Yeah, I think you might be right. We could have a really great game here. I hope that we do. Altazim actually up to this point has shown some really awesome games in this tournament, which is surprising because it's a map that many pros said that they did not like and have repeatedly vetoed over and over again. Indeed, in Shoutcraft America, everyone asked that Altazim not be included in the map pool. But that was when Altazim had just come out, so I have a feeling people are starting to get the hang of it, and they're starting to see the potential of this map.
Yeah, we've gotten a chance to see probably the sickest games consistently on this map. I mean, there was the Kost Daishi crazy base trade game. There was DIMAGA's amazing 100 drone maneuvers that were just delightful to see.
Yeah, they were really good, and they resulted in some awesome games so far. But we could have the 3rd time unlucky. We may end up with a terrible game on our hands here, but we will see. I would love this to go late, because TVP lately, it kind of goes the same way for the most part, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it looks a lot like the Terran player getting bio with medevacs and maybe doing a killing blow somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and if they don't, it's a lot of counter warpins and the Protoss washing over with a gigantic unstoppable force at like 20 minutes. But we haven't really seen a lot of Terran players have back and forth games that have them winning at around 30 minutes.
I think there's a possibility that on a map this large, you could have that happen. If the Terran and the Protoss both establish so many bases, you could certainly see it. There's the big high-tech death ball army that we often see from the Protoss. It can only really be in one place at once. It's not that mobile. Zealot run-bys are obviously very effective, but at that point, you're starting to run up against planetary fortresses, so you can't necessarily do that when the Terran's up to 5 or 6 bases, which sounds like an unrealistic prospect, but this is Altazim Stronghold that has 20 expansions, so...
20 bases!
20 bases, yeah. That's more than anything in the pool.
You know, I think this would be an excellent map to do the Fun Day Monday challenge if you must build 4 command centers before your first unit building structure. I think that's really...
4 CCs?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 4 base before anything is the play. So you can do things like, you know, hatch, pool, gas, Zergling speed. Like, there's an opening. This map is great because it's so easy to hide stuff.
That is true. You could just put the CCs pretty much anywhere, although I imagine you'd almost have to, especially against Zerg, you'd probably have to wall yourself in with those CCs to have any chance of surviving. If the Zerg finds you first and figures out what you're doing, you're dead.
For sure. You are done.
That was fun. But maybe not so much for the Terran player. Admittedly, if you do pull it off, it does become fun, because suddenly you have more money than you can possibly spend. You're floating 5,000 minerals, you feel great, you feel like some kind of Russian oil baron, a mogul, and then you die anyway because your macro's terrible. But if you somehow get better at that, you can do whatever you want.
You know, I really think that the next evolution in the metagame is going to be the 4 base before anything play, because when you win, it just feels so rewarding, and when you lose, you're like, dude, I was doing Fun Day Monday. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, there was the same logic I had when I laddered for 2 years with Dan in Street Fighter 4. It's like, dude, I'm playing Dan. If I lose, I'm playing Dan. But if I win, it's like a double win.
Dude, that is the truest thing ever. They're like, dude, Dan, oh man. Dan in Super Puzzle Fighter HD Remix is the funnest. He's like only sending red blocks.
I need to play that again, wow. The funny thing is they've actually balanced Dan to the point where he's playable now in Street Fighter 4, which makes me very disappointed, because I played him in the original Street Fighter 4 when he was clearly like F tier, and I was still beating people, and it felt amazing. But now it's like, oh, well, you know, he's maybe slightly weaker, but he's actually, you know, he's playable now, and that disappoints me greatly. I think maybe I need to go back to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where he was completely unplayable. Alright, folks, we're in the game. To the northwest position. On the biggest map in the pool, Altazim Stronghold. The map that QXC, I believe, called that damn big blue map. Which is, for the most part, true. In the red trunks, playing Protoss for Team Russia. Roxkiss Titan. Versus his opponent to the east position. Funnily enough, there is an east position right next to the northeast. There is an in-base expansion here. Representing the Ukraine, the monster himself, the beast from the east in the blue trunks, playing Terran Empire Cass.
Oh man, I love... Okay, we are gonna see Nexus first, guaranteed. Command Center first, guaranteed.
Probably.
Come on. Come on, there's no way it can't be that. I mean, this is not even me being a clever commentator. This is me just looking at the map.
It's like, why wouldn't you? It's the perfect opportunity to kind of go for this great metagame cheese and then realize after 2 minutes of traveling across the map you went to the wrong base, and then you just GG out immediately.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh god. I've had that happen before.
Oh.
I still... You know, I remember one of my friends explained to me that one of the best strats ever is to just aggressively proxy one base, and if you scout it and he's not there, you just go, okay, well, that's fine. And then if you do get to the one base, you get reported for hacking.
That does sound about right.
It's perfect. I am a smart person, TB.
Is that Incredible Miracle's new player? I am a smart person?
I am a smart person. I am a smart person.
You know what really bothered me about GOM? Like, it almost made me cancel my GOM subscription.
Uh-oh, wow, made you cancel the whole subscription? Oh, tell me.
Back in GSTL Season 1, they had this American announcer. And, of course, New Star Hoso was in it. And they were playing, and one of New Star Hoso's players is, of course, Tassadar. Or was. But according to Mr. American Street Fighter announcer, oh no, not at all. It was NS Hoso Tasada.
Tasada. Oh my god.
I mean, that should be a felony, surely.
Oh my god.
That's horrendous.
That's a heinous Tasada. Oh
Tasada.
god.
Yeah. He also said Alicia, which is completely wrong. So we were annoyed by that as well. And it just went through the entire season. We did inform GOM of this, but we should also point out that this was the same GOM that did our logo wrong for a whole season of GSTL. There was this white box, for some reason, in the background. We have no idea why, but it was there. And it was there for the whole season. It infuriated me. Ugh.
Oh, dude. And you know my favorite part is when you got declared the Compians.
Yes, I have my... We're not sure if we're the first foreigners to receive those pins. I think FXO Boss might have got one, but we don't know if they were giving them out to the management staff at that point. Regardless, yes, we have our GSTL Campion pins. I'm feeling good about that. At least they're unique. Like, there's nothing else like that in existence.
Yeah. Well, it looks like every corner in the book is being cut right now. We're seeing Command Center first into 3rd Command Center before 3rd Barracks. We're seeing an engineering bay straight away, so that way he can bunker and turret because, well, I don't really think Koss is scouted. That's right. He's had an SCV out on the map for a few years now, and he doesn't report any disturbances. Mothership Core is going to be scouting for Titan because who needs it at home for defense? And there we see not just Nexus first, but Nexus first into Forge at 5 minutes. I actually think Titan is looking more and more like he wants to do some sort of like Warp Prism Templar play, especially with the ordering that he's going for.
Cass's SCV is finally killed off, just like that rover on Mars that got stuck in the dirt.
Oh, it did? I didn't know that.
That was the other one. Curiosity's fine right now. It was, you know, there was that sad rover that got stuck and couldn't move and just kind of sat there transmitting until it was eventually covered in dust. That's what that SCV was like. It was stuck on Mars for a few years and then just slowly died.
God, that is the saddest story in the whole world. Wow.
Someone made a comic of it that almost brought me to the verge of tears. Because apparently it couldn't receive communications anymore, and they characterized it by thinking that its master had left it behind, and it just kept doing its job like a good little rover and was eventually buried.
Oh,
it's like,
oh my God.
That makes me so unhappy.
Oh my god, and did he say things like, I'm a good little rover as he died?
That's exactly what he did, yes.
Oh.
And then remember it's a piece of machinery, and we shouldn't be feeling that way because we're men.
Ah, yes, very good.
Indeed.
So in the meantime, we see that scan identifies the robotics bay. This is very Titan-esque. Yep.
Yes.
Titan is likely going to be going for armor first, and then attack, and going for a blink Colossus play as he takes a third. Pretty typical mix. It allows you to both have the Colossus for dealing with big bioforces, and then has the Stalkers to deal with the flexibility, blinking here and there to deal with medevacs. But the big danger you'll encounter is, of course, when the armies get huge, you really need those High Templar and Zealots.
Double starport coming down here for Cass. Sees the Colossus and says, well, I don't have a starport yet. Probably best catch up on that fact. I really want to take this third base. As does Titan. As it turns out, he's going to take his third as well. So far, we've had 9 minutes of absolutely nothing happening, which is
good.
Typical for Altazine. But it does mean that it's setting us up for some very interesting late-game clashes.
There's Blink, there's the +1 coming out of Protoss. Now, on the Terran side of things, you're almost always going to want 5 barracks with 2 reactor add-ons, 3 tech lab add-ons. These are very typical mixes.
Yep.
Generally speaking, you're going to want 2 starports by the end of the game. And what we're seeing now out of Koss is that he is sprinting to get the double starport up long before he has his barracks 4 and 5 done. This is an extremely atypical ordering that means Koss wants to do a timing attack. He wants to rush in, annihilate the 2 to 3 Colossus that Titan almost certainly has, and then just kill the only Stalker Force remaining.
That was a nice little move there by Koss. He actually spotted a stationary observer. Admittedly, at this point in the game, that's where it's expected to be. He was able to shut that down, though. As he passed under the Observer, I imagine he saw that telltale shimmer and was able to shut that down. So that actually leaves a very blind Titan on this map. He can't see anything at this stage.
Now, I want to just say, whoa. Shield upgrade for Titan.
Okay. Interesting move against Cass. I mean, this is a guy that absolutely loves to build his Ghost Academy.
Huh. I mean, this could be Titan just saying, I'm going to go for the super duper, 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 duper late game, and I'm not going to go for a fast 3-3. I'm going to go for 3-3-3 as fast as possible. The critical phase right now is that Titan needs to get charge started. He needs it. He needs his gateway count to be huge. I'm loving the fact that there's 7 gateways in production right now with 3 already done.
That's massive.
Really love that
but he is
mix,
on 3
yeah.
bases, so he can make that happen. Absolutely works out. Shield upgrades are ticking over as well. Cass is not ready to attack yet. In fact, I wonder if he even will. He did see 2 bases down, and he said, uh-oh, okay, maybe there's Colossus. Then he spots the 3rd with this Marine that is conveniently placed slightly out of range of the highly advanced Protoss Nexus that can't see more than 5 feet to the right. It eventually is killed by a Colossus that most surely can see more than 5 feet to the right, and now Cass decides, okay, I have a feeling of where he is, I know what he's got, let's go, and charge is not done yet. And SCVs are being pulled as well. Cass really wants to do damage here.
Cass, this is perfect timing. Perfect timing by Cass. Look at the vision from Titan. Sees virtually nothing. But Titan is anticipating this. He knows that this is a weak juncture in his play, so he's beginning to chrono out Immortals, but look at that. Charge is still 80 seconds out. 2 High Templar getting morphed. No Storm anywhere in sight. Those are gonna have to be Archons. I mean, God, what perfect play here by Cass. Perfect timing.
Cass is going to land on the 1-1 here. The Protoss player still has an upgrade advantage, but those Colossus are going to die very, very fast. There are 14 Vikings, which is a huge number, and the Colossus fighting very, very quickly. They're down, and now Cass is just trying to barrel his way through here. The last Colossus falls. Will there be enough firepower from the Protoss? Not even close. Cass barrels through once again. Another warping comes in. We still don't have charge ready. The Marauder Heavy Force doing very well. The Vikings now on the ground here.
There is an Immortal in the backside doing some serious work, and there's only 1 medevac, so amazingly, the double stim from Cass backfired.
It killed him.
Stim. What the heck? How? Oh my gosh, he has only 3 medevacs on the field. Titan with just crisply timed 12 gateways. Wow,
this Immortal! Oh, the Immortal goes down. I think even Cass just wanted to kill that Immortal just out of spite. It was on 1 HP with 10 kills. Bear in mind the composition of that force. Mostly Viking Marauder with some Marine. It probably killed 8+ Marauders and 2 Vikings on its own. That was the MVP of that engagement, and it really held it together. Without that, that would have been a way different fight.
Titan just on point with these transitions. Now he has 13 gateways. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how critical that insta-swap to Immortals was. There was the one Hero Immortal that you just talked about, but there was another one before that that also did similar work. We're seeing a sort of desperation play from Cass where he goes, oh my god, if you counter me, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So we're starting to see the push from Titan, and this drop may very well work for Cass.
It certainly could. He's going for it. Straight into the main base. There is absolutely no defense available here whatsoever. The Mothership Core is out of position and doesn't have the energy anyway, so the drop is going to be pretty intense. However, charge is done. Upgrade heavy Zealots coming in to try and engage here. They do get stuck kind of behind their own mineral line, though. They're eventually working their way through those Marauders, taking an awful lot of time to make that happen. Cass actually not stimming in this position. This drop will eventually be cleaned up, and in the meantime, a huge Zealot run by from Titan. That's not a Zealot run by. That's Zealot and Archon going straight into the 3rd base.
I mean, this is an attack at this point. I mean,
yeah.
He is just barreling down with superior upgrades. Titan, who held on with perfect transitions, now has a 3-1-2 level upgrades. I mean, 2 more Archons getting morphed in. Cass completely falling apart without 2-2 done.
Yeah, he is so far behind in upgrades here. Titan strikes with a huge amount of firepower that it seems the Terran player simply cannot stop. Kills 27 workers, puts Cass way behind, takes out the orbital at the front as well, which is even worse here for the Terran player. Now +3 is done. These Zealots are not going to die. Not to 1-1 Marines, not in a million years.
I mean, even with the best kiting he can muster, Cass is in a world of trouble. He didn't even have the time to build a wall off at the front. There's no depots there to assist him. He went a little bit thin. And now we're just seeing Titan rally forward. He doesn't even need to take a fourth.
Man, so many stems coming out of Cass, and that's just the GG right there. Protoss hammers Cass into the ground after a failed attack, a drop, but then a Zealot run by, and then adding in 4 Archons. As he said, it became an attack, and he just said, you know what? Screw it. Look at my upgrades versus yours. I can kill you here.
I mean, this is really, I think, a very intelligent way for Titan to play out the map, because it's sort of like 2 halves. You know, John, I'm going to sneeze, so...
As you wish.
Let me try to... No. Okay, I'm going to try to say this point, but if I sneeze midway through, John, I need you to just agree. So,
understood.
Here it is. On that map, the first half of Titan's analysis is, well, it's really, really hard to apply pressure early. So that means I can get away with a very nice long-term focus opening. Nexus first, very fast Colossus, very fast Double Forge, very fast Blink, very fast Third, very fast everything except for gateways. So we saw an extremely tiny gateway force as Titan was pulling all these various transitions, because the space between the bases, more than enough time for him to respond to any attack. And then Titan says, I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to try to get a 4th or a 5th or anything like that. I'm going to get 13 gateways really fast so I can do not just a massive flood of units to support my existing Colossus force, but, you know, with the warp-in mechanic, I can just barrel down my enemy, because for certain the third base of Kos is going to be exposed, and a Zealot heavy force in an exposed area is always going to be in good shape. We did see Titan barely hold on to that when Kos did the SCV pull, but even if Kos hadn't done that SCV pull, Titan would have done virtually the same attack timing. Really, really well done.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It was really nicely put together. Sneeze or no sneeze, I'm going to agree with that analysis there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so clutch, I think, from Titan to actually hold that attack on his third base. Really great use of the Immortal there. Perhaps Kos overdoing it with the Marauders. And Marauders are fantastic, especially against a player that doesn't have Zealot charge. Because even if he brings Zealots into the mix, they have difficulty getting to grips with the actual Terran force there. But when you toss an Immortal in there, then suddenly that force melts a little faster than you might think, and
for sure,
overstimmed units getting picked off by that Immortal. I'd love to actually, see the replay for that. Unfortunately, considering how long that game was, it's not really practical, but I would love to see if there was actual target fire going on with that Immortal on the weakened Marauders, because if there was, that would be fantastic. But whatever the case, it ended up with 10 kills before it finally fell, which is massive. That really decimated that force of his, so very impressive play there by Titan, and I don't think we're going to keep seeing that, because honestly, this is the Ukraine we're talking about. This is not Spain that Titan was able to walk all over. The Ukraine still has DIMAGA, and of course the Ukraine still has Bly, both very capable of dealing with this matchup.
I mean, they're almost certainly going to be sending out Bly. I mean, he's the perfect choice to deal with a player like Titan. Titan does do these sort of cutesy Warp Prism plays. He likes the Stalker Immortal mix generally in the matchup, with more attacking and less of the long-term Colossus Templar late game stuffs, and I think Bly performs very well in those low econ situations in this matchup.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It seems like he should be able to handle this. Let's see who decides to... Yes, it will absolutely be Bly. And let's see what map he picked, more to the point. That's the biggest map out of the pool. He picks Habitation Station, which is definitely a nice map for Zerg.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Habitation Station, I think, as much as people want to talk about the gold, it can be considered as a secondary point, and Zerg can very straightforwardly go for a big Mutaling play, because the Protoss, in a lot of ways, is committed to going for that gold base. I mean, it's the closest, it's the most defensible when you consider air, all this sort of stuff. Kind of pins Protoss to that decision. Not that it's a bad one, because hey, it's a gold base, but that sort of predictability in the Protoss play, I think, the Zerg can exploit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Well, we will see very shortly. We don't want to take a break here. Bly's already in. We're just waiting for Titan, who is not in the lobby as of yet, and once he is, we'll be jumping into that game pretty much immediately. We want to try and get this done, mostly because I think both of us actually have a hard out at 7 hours 30 into this cast. I have to leave My graphic designer was actually going home to Romania tomorrow, so we're going out for a meal that we've scheduled for like the last 2 weeks. And I head to Morton's, get a nice piece of steak.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Wow. I wish that's why I had to go, but I'm on the work train. Woo!
Oh, dear. But
hell yeah.
That's actually one of the reasons I like to go to the Anaheim events is there's just a Morton's right down the street from the hotel. It's very convenient. It's like, oh, I want steak? I can do that. Oh, I don't want Morton's steak? Well, there's a Ruth's Chris right down the street as well. It's perfect.
Now, the real question is, are they within walking distance? Can you just, like, go on a stroll to a steakhouse?
In Anaheim, you can.
Oh, yeah, oh, for certain in Anaheim. I even know the Morton's since you're talking about it.
Yeah, indeed. I saw you there before, actually. You were dining with some very important people.
Oh, well, I mean, wow. I like the way you say that. I mean, like, there was the President of the United States there.
Yeah, he was there.
There was the UN consulate.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe Newell was there.
He was, actually, yeah.
I like him.
Gabe Newell is... I've unfortunately never got to meet Gabe. I do intend to do that at some point, but never got to meet him.
You know, okay, so I'm going to do a statement followed by a transition. Everyone looks up to Gabe Newell and Valve. They're just brilliant.
Yes.
And there's those other gaming companies that are just standard ones to look up to as well. Riot, Blizzard, consistent makers of good games. You can even throw in some of the great single-player games makers like Naughty Dog, Bethesda. But I think there's one that doesn't get praised enough.
Okay.
And that's Telltale Games.
Ah, all right. Yeah,
dude,
I'll give you that.
Man, like I played through The Walking Dead, of course. That's an amazing game. Wolf Among Us is just fantastically art directored.
I enjoyed that more than anything Telltale has done so far, honestly.
Yeah, damn, was that good.
Yeah, and then I was like, where's the next episode? It was actually a few days ago. We were on the podcast with someone I believe you know very well, actually. Nika Harper was there, and she used to work for Telltale. And we were talking about, well, hang on a minute. Where the hell did The Wolf Among Us go? We played the first episode in October, and then we waited three and a half months, still no sign of it, and Reddit got upset, and then suddenly a statement comes out and says, guys, sorry, there's been like an unprecedented delay in this release. We're going to bring it out in February, and then everybody was rejoicing once again.
Yeah, and you know, like, honestly, I think that Telltale gets a free pass for, like, at least a year's worth of delays. Like, they have built up so much reputation, like, you know, especially if you play the old Sam & Max games and, like, Monkey Island games and the Jurassic Parks. Like, they were, like,
Don't
never
mention
late.
Jurassic Park. Have you played Jurassic Park?
That's one I have not played.
Don't. It will sully your opinion of Telltale forever. It is horrible.
Well, you know, they are still on time with, like, everything they've ever done, and, like, no game has ever been on time in the history of gaming. And the fact that they delivered a chapter every month with Wolf Among Us, I'm like, dude, go ahead, take till May. I'm okay with that.
I'm not. But then again, this is, I think, the first Telltale game I bought in kind of at the very start. I say bought in, they gave me my review copy, but... And then I just got committed to it. I played the whole thing through, and I want to know the rest of it, because it does end on a fairly... I wouldn't say a cliffhanger per se, but it certainly ends on a I want to see what the hell happens kind of moment, so... Alright,
Yeah,
Titan is rebooted. We're finally ready to go.
I like that play by Titan to do that rebooting. I think that's something that is rarely talked about, that you and I will know a lot about as people who've had to deal with video encoding bullshit. Sometimes computers can just be finicky. There can be improper memory dumps in the GPU. So you reboot to make sure you don't get any blips at all.
Absolutely. Sometimes XSplit can quite literally spit out 5,000 errors in 1 second and just break your whole machine. That can happen.
Well, I mean, you know, you'll get little things like sometimes Chrome doesn't empty its memory cache completely, little applications that you wouldn't have thought of, you know, just eating up a little bit more memory over time.
Yeah.
And then when you start playing, you just get a little blip, 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 blip at a time when you just didn't quite want it. And given how, you know, razor thin StarCraft 2 is, if that force field comes down 20 frames late, you're dead. So I really like the fact that Titan just said, just to be safe, I'm rebooting.
Yeah.
I'll be back on as fast as I can.
That's absolutely true. Speaking of which, actually, I've decided to stop using Chrome because Chrome runs too many instances of itself, and I'm getting sick of it. Although, I'll tell you what's so satisfying. When you find out there's about 20 instances of Chrome running, even though there shouldn't be, you find the one with the highest memory, you right-click on it in the task manager, you click End Process Tree, and the whole thing collapses in on itself, and it's just...
Oh, that's so good. Dude, that's like in Magic the Gathering when the guy has a whole bunch of creatures that buff each other, and you kill one that causes the cascade, and they all die.
Ah, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, to the northeast position of Habitation Station, as we clean ourselves up, in the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, for the Ukraine, Ace of Bly. Versus his opponent to the northwest position, the man who all-killed Spain, he's looking to do it again. In the Red Trunks playing Protoss, Roxkiss Titan.
Love seeing Titan go for a gateway first in the main base. As much as people see the small ramp and just go, well, you're spraying real fast, you know, you can also cut every freaking corner possible with a gateway first build. I mean, you can quite literally build no sentries sometimes and just keep everything really tightly positioned with good probe watching and accelerate your air/ground harass even more quickly. And we're seeing Titan just tease Bly.
Making it out, yeah. This is not really for anything. There is no forge down, so he's wanting to try and get a reaction out of Bly, and hilariously, Bly just refuses to do anything about that pylon.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not going to be fooled by that at all. Didn't pull a single drone.
Now, what is Bly doing? He went hatch gas pool. Now, technically, the timing this aligns with is fast Zergling speed, but I mean, why is Bly losing his mind about getting ultra-fast Zergling speed? I mean, that's kind of a funky choice. It might be him saying, damn it, Titan, you always do gateway-centric harassment. I'm not going to lose to it this game. I'm going to get my speed up. But it seems a little bit overly defensive of Bly. He tends to attack.
Yeah, I think so. But who knows what Bly's been doing lately? I can only imagine. I mean, Bly's got to run into Titan on ladder so much. They must be playing the same kind of tournaments together. They know each other quite well, and that's where things start to get really weird, because you see this playing the player, not the game sort of attitude, where you're just metagaming your opponent. In this case, wow, 10 Zerglings coming out from Bly. That's a lot for early game.
You know, I think Bly knows something that we don't, because
yeah, I think so.
He is building all lings all the time. He was happy to let Titan see all that stuff, and I think Titan is starting to get a little suspect. He's going for a zealot right away, rather than being patient and waiting for a sentry. Wow, I think Bly's just gonna...
He's just going to go for it, and actually this could do the job. I mean, Titan surely cannot wall off fast enough here. And up come the lings into the base. The metabolic boost is not done yet, but there are way more lings behind this. There's 18 lings in production for Bly, which is a massive amount at this point in the game.
So smart for Bly. He's running the Zerglings up into the main base for two reasons. One, to draw attention away from the expansion. The Mothership Core can only be in one place at one time, so this means that Titan has to decide, do I want to keep probes alive in main, or do I want to keep the Expo alive at the front? And... jeez, Bly just gonna win with this? Look, his speed's gonna finish!
It is, and it's gonna finish in about 5 seconds. He's trying to get the surround here on the Stalker, and Titan has managed to micro it away, but once speed comes in, and it kicks in right there, and this mineral line is gonna be decimated.
Oh, the assumptions that we make to do the modern gameplay that we see. I mean, Titan needed to have recognized what was going on with that fast gas play, and now it's all up to his micro. He can no longer fix the flawed build he established.
Ooh, surrounding the Stalker. It's going to go down. The Mothership Core is doing a good job. It's killed 10 lings so far, which is fantastic, but more probes are going down here. 11 workers, 12 workers killed. Another surrounding the Stalker. GG in 6 minutes. Ace of Bly, you evil, evil man.
More like Ace or Sly. Yeah, I mean, that is a very nice play there. I mean, Bly, to be able to do that, had to predict that Titan would very likely go for a gateway first build on this map. and there's a number of other assumptions. We saw the same assumption utilized by TLO in the last series. Well, hey, most people try to avoid building that first Zealot. They try to get the Nexus as fast as possible. Cutting corners is cool, kids. And then no Zealot versus Lings. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's like, what? The gold base is so tempting for the Zerg, but what if the Zerg does not take the gold base? What if the Zerg decides, you know what, let's just build units and go? And apparently that works pretty well. Excellent. Well,
that's cool.
That was short. That was short and to the point. I am dearly hoping that we do not have huge amounts of downtime here before the next game.
You know, I would describe the games in all of Nation Wars as cool. I don't think we've had an uninteresting game yet.
No, even the Mana game versus Snoot on day one, which dragged out a little bit, was still an interesting game. You know, it had a lot of different tech paths being utilized. It was fun to watch until the Swarm Host grind began. You know, it was still interesting, though. These games have been very, very good, and I think it shows that you've got, well, one, you've got national pride on the line, and secondly, you also have the fact that these guys play against each other all the time on the same ladder. They know each other really well. And I think that play by Bly is very indicative that he knew what Titan would do there and was able to come up with the perfect counter to it.
You know, first, let me just... there we go. Second of all, I feel like there's like sort of weird drifting opinion on metagame plays. Because on one hand, you'd say, well, dude, you need to make sure your fundamentals are good. You can't always play the player because you can't be sure. And I know there's a lot of people who claim to be metagame players who claim to try to one-up their opponent. And essentially, they're just flipping coins. They're just like, well, I really, really hope he goes hatch first because I'm going all in on a cannon rush, you know? And with Bly is one of those players who I want to say, like, you are permitted to do your metagame plays. Because when I see him do these sorts of cheesy things, it's always a big range. And it always seems very player-specific. And the win percentage is, like, over 70%. You know? So he's taking what should be a coin flip, and he's just weighting it to heads way strong.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And Bly has been very effective in this tournament by doing just that. Can he take out a Happy, though? Happy, in my opinion, the strongest player on Team Russia.
Happy's an interesting player because as much as I was just talking about Bly being, you know, permitted to use the metagame, often I feel like Happy literally says there is no metagame. There is only what I see. You know, he is a player for as long as I have known to not only ladder as much as Kos, but also to do very generalist builds. Here is a build that is very excellent versus this general range of what Protoss can do. I don't see him stereotype his builds to his players as much.
No, I certainly don't. And he's rock solid. That's probably a good way to describe him. He's very, very good at what he does. He's very skilled. We unfortunately are waiting for a couple of spectators to come in before we can begin. Everyone's actually ready. We're just waiting for this. Like, it's so frustrating because you want to get on to the next game. You don't want more downtime than the length of the last game. But you know, we will do as we can.
Yeah. Well, given the fact that we're waiting for the Take TV admin.
Yeah,
and Tude from Bonfitude.
Yes, we can't really go without them. That's like, so the German and the French stream, that's not going to happen.
Well, there's no esports fans in Germany or France.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Considering that they're like two of the most important segments of all of esports viewership and two of the awesomest people in esports. Yeah, let's wait. It sounds awesome. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right, we got Tude who's joined the lobby. Now we're just waiting for Take TV, and then we'll rock and roll. The Polar Knight, that's going to be the matchup here.
Kind of a funky map. I mean, we've seen in the Hero Marine versus Snoot game, Hero Marine went for very aggressive Marine Hellion stuff, and Snoot just absolutely snooted him down.
Indeed.
I wonder if we're going to see more aggression from Happy. I mean, probably not. It's likely going to be Bly, the one who would be pulling that sort of move. But man, did we see Bly play a great game versus Daishi.
Yeah, it was an absolutely phenomenal game against Daishi. Really great, and awesome to see him play that macro style. And then, of course, he goes into that match and just... Would you call that a cheese?
You know, I think to call it a cheese, we have to see how Bly would play it out versus an early expander. Because it's one of those big divergence paths. He's either going gate first or he's early expanding, and you can't know when you're doing Bly's build. You have to prepare that in advance. And I mean, when you see him go Lings in that spot, it's just a very clear kill sequence. But I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to say yes, because then that makes Bly the cheesy mastermind, and that's always a fun title.
Cheesy mastermind. He's done some nasty things to Terran in the past. He did some nasty things to Flash in the past, as we saw. He's a scary man indeed. We'll see how well he can do, however, up against Happy, who is about as rock solid as you can possibly imagine. So here we go into the game. And, of course, the snow on Polar Knights to the north position. Already well prepared for such extreme environments in the Red Trunks from Team Acer for the Ukraine. Acer Bly. Versus his opponent to the south position. The man who is usually anything but. From Russia in the blue trunks. Empire Happy.
We have Empire Frustrated spawning in the south position, and Acer Sly. You know, one of the funniest things I think that quietly happened before you change the video switcher over is that in chat, Acer Bly was typing with big happy faces. He was so elated to have won that game against Titan. I will say, I still absolutely love the attitude of all the players on Team Ukraine. Bly, absolutely DIMAGA, and Koss as well, just being cheery throughout this tournament, even after their losses.
Yeah, they seem to have had a lot of fun, and I think I don't think there's a set of players in this tournament that haven't had a lot of fun, but they've had varying degrees of fun. I can only imagine that Spain had less fun than the other teams.
I find you to be an astute observer, TB.
Yes. I have a feeling that parts of the French team didn't have much fun. One part in particular.
Ah. You're an astute observer.
Yes. You can't imagine who that might be. He can't play under these conditions, Sean.
Ah, absolutely not. And he won't have to.
No, he won't. So, that worked out pretty well for him, didn't it?
Well, it looks like Bly is playing standard. We have Happy as well, going for just the most safe. This is, I think, this moment right now highlights exactly what I was just talking about. Happy likes this generally safe, rounded, good, solid against everything. He's building the second depot before his command center. You can afford to skip that depot and build the command center first, because Reapers take so long to build, you won't hit your supply cap. The only reason you would do this in Happy's shoes is if you were slightly concerned about some Zerglinging stuff coming up. Almost all players are going to want to cut that corner.
Against Bly, that's a fairly safe assumption. Although, knowing Bly, this is the time when he will not do anything like that. He builds 6 Zerglings. He loves to do that. He's not the kind of guy that just builds 2 and says, I'll be fine with queens. He always builds 6, and that gives him some flexibility. Yeah. He can harass, he can poke, he can chase the Reaper away so that it can't really do too much.
Happy's only just now beginning to take some pot shots at those Zerglings. Bly, ooh, with a nice slick little move. Only in that spot can he pull that move off, because there's no cliff for the Reaper to move along.
Yeah, this Reaper's being a little bit annoying, and Bly's having to fight off creep, which is less than ideal, so he's actually losing Lings here. Second one going down to the Reaper, and the Reaper's gonna give him the slip.
Oh. Yeah, I was getting a little worried that Happy was about to lose his first Reaper and disappoint all of Team Russia.
Yes,
but
and then we remembered he's Happy. He never does things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the earliest players that blew my mind with control was Happy. His ability to split versus Banelings is remarkable. But we're seeing players like Bly more and more and more spreading their creep so well, it's hard for Terran to get an off-creep Zergling Baneling engagement. So I think that will be the fundamental tool that we're going to see Bly use throughout the series. Pretty typical timing on the gas, 530. It's just the right time to allow you to both get Zergling speed, 1/1 upgrades for Zerglings, and a layer.
Well, as to this point, Bly's not been able to harass or really do anything particularly aggressive because of that Reaper build. And that's the nice thing about it, because if you're going for that earlier command center, walling off on this lower ground on Polar Knight or indeed any map, nigh on impossible. So there's a risk of Lings coming in and saying, oh, you know, then you better start building your CC up on the high ground behind the wall. But not really the case when you got 2 Reapers. You can easily pull back and you can deal with them quite nicely. Speed won't be done, so you can control fairly well against that, and you can deal with it, unless they make a massive commitment to Zerglings.
And I will say, I am a big fan of massive commitments to Zerglings.
Yes, they're fun.
And, okay, there it is. The Roach Warren. All right,
Ooh.
I want to talk about Zerglings, but seriously, Bly, he's going to be going for what looks like a 2-base all-in, and then he's not. He's going to take a third. There's the drone going for the third. And then once the third's up, he's going to use it as a macro hatch, and he's going to go all in. A bold claim by day 9.
All right, we'll see if that happens. Happy will have seen that drone coming in. It's like, oh, all right. So he's intending to take a third. So I wonder if that is, in fact, a fake third. And, in fact, it really is a 2-base all-in.
Well,
That said, we've got 1/1 upgrades on the melee and a Roach Warren. But there's a... Oh, hang on, dude.
I
He
saw
cancels
that.
his Roach Warren and goes straight into a Baneling nest. Okay. So he is going to go 3 bases then.
So this looks like a whole lot of missteps in a row, but arguably, actually not arguably, there's some big mismatches. Now, normally you can rush for a layer and get Mutalisks out really quickly, and then wiggle and worm your way back to a more typical play, but we don't see the Spire going down at all. I think Bly has slightly misread the situation and is in fact up against an ultra standard build. And we know how Bly plays against ultra standard. We've seen that before. It's very, very good. And here's something just went wrong with his read, I'd assume.
Ooh, Happy's doing an incredible job of stopping this third base from going down. I mean, he stopped it on the one side, and then he stopped it on the other. He's now got his Hellions there, along with this Reaper to try and prevent it. He kills the drone.
Oh, God.
Happy is just so on point in denying this third base today.
He is ferociously pleasant.
Yes. If we interviewed him after this, if he wins with just immaculate control and perfect denials, just say, everything went to plan, I think that game was okay. That would be his answer. We kind of stopped interviewing Happy after we realized that we spoke more than he did.
Well, it happens. Happy has a great mind for the game. English ain't his first language.
No.
I'm more than happy to simply witness him be awesome.
Yes. He
Now,
stays
Bly,
to
though.
the point, let's be honest.
Yeah, right? Bly, though, is in ugly shape.
Yeah.
The hidden resource, the resource that is not listed anywhere, is the number of larvae he has lost by not having his macro hatch done and by not having his third base done. He is taking a very risky move that will garner him a lot of gas, but he just still is going to have a very hard time catching up in larva.
That is very true. And unfortunately, if you're going to play Ling Baneling, you need a hell of a lot of that, because otherwise you'll never be able to overwhelm your opponent and actually start to push them back. Happy is going for a timing here, a push with combat shields. Centrifugal hooks will be done, so that's a bit of a boon here for Bly. But he doesn't have that many Banelings.
I mean, Happy is rolling through right now. These Banelings must connect. But look at that split!
What?!
Not just a split, but target firing on the injured Banelings as well. Normally this push has just stim. Empire Happy has stim and combat shield. Has torn through it. Bly sort of banked on one of these bases dying. That's why he double expanded. That's why he's building the macro hatch now in the main base. But there's a lot going wrong for Bly, and it's all coming back to that lack of larvae.
Yeah, and he's going super drone heavy as a result of that. He's like, okay, I think I deflected that attack. I think I'm okay. Can I afford to risk droning? And yes, at the moment, but who knows when Happy will decide to just burst out of the gate again.
I mean, Happy's probably going to be just doing 2 medevac poking until 2-2's done. That's generally the scripted response for Terran. Bly is going to try to abate that by being as poke heavy as possible with his mutas, but the creep spread is not what it was in the previous game that we saw Bly play.
Be overstimming this set of Marines a little bit. He actually stimmed while stationary. I think I have to assume that was just a mispress there. So it has drained the medevac energy fairly low. Something to be a little careful of. Bly menacing that Xel'Naga watchtower, and we'll be adding on 5 creep tumors nearby to try and take control of it.
Well, looks like, God, that watchtower control is great. Baneling burrowed on the side. Uh-oh, but it's just one. Oh, nice. There's the scan.
Lovely scan. So, yeah, I guess it was going to happen to get rid of the tumors anyway.
In this spot, this is a very funky-looking push from Happy. It's just designed to weaken Bly. This will almost never be a big game ender, but I do think that Bly can... The Widow Mine just picked off a ton of those larvae. That was really slick. Yeah,
it did a lot of damage to the Muta as well. Lings come in, but a lot of Banelings detonate trying to kill those Widow Mines. That's a little bit dangerous. Happy just up on the top of the ramp there. In fact, up to the top of the cliff, and is trying to do damage here. This is going to get shut down by the Mutas eventually, but the Mutalist count is not very high, and it looks like Bly could lose another. No, never mind. In the meantime, Happy dropped the 4th and killed it off completely.
I mean, that's really what makes Happy exceptional. That attack, I mean, you look at it, it was like 4 mines, 12 Marines. What is that really going to do? It's going to provide enough of a distraction for that drop on the right side. So now we have Happy stuck on 6 gas, stuck on 4 hatch. I mean, you might even want to throw down a 5th macro hatch just to do something against these ever-increasing Marine numbers.
Happy's going to push forward once again and cleans out massive amounts of creep tumors there. Kills off, I think, 4 or 5, which is wonderful because he's going to take control again of that Xel'Naga tower. He can grab this one too. He's got 2 separate forces to make that happen. He needs to be careful. He doesn't want to split his force too much. Banelings connect quite nicely this time around. He wasn't able to split. He was stuck against the cliff. However, that gave Happy the moment he needed to move his mines in.
God, Happy is playing so well. I mean, these aren't micro moves. These are positional moves. These are tactical plays to get him into the spot he needs. The splitting is so good. That hatch is starting to take damage. Happy is doing this beautifully while on creep, but here comes the Zerglings spreading out perfectly. Oh my God, Bly did a great job cleaning that apart.
Lovely cleanup there. It didn't help Happy at all that the mine hits were not that great. He did get one in the middle of the Muta clump, which was nice, meaning that Happy could then pick off a few Mutas at the top here. Ooh, Banelings do not do the job.
Did you see that? He ran through the Banelings.
Yeah, which is insane when you think about it, but that's exactly what happened. And Happy continues to pressure this. He doesn't have their hit points, though. He's overstimming, so this entire army is going to die immediately.
Well, this flood of 28 Lings is going to be all that's keeping Bly alive right now. More mines swing in, and
Happy's mine luck today is not very good. He's lost quite a few of his own units and now loses a medevac to his mine, ending that aggression rather abruptly.
Wow. That stinkers for him.
Yes, it does.
Now, Bly does have an opportunity to get a breathing room for maybe 30 to 40 seconds. And then he's going to be off to the races again. He's going to begin darting, this time, over to the more difficult-to-assault right base.
There's a lot of Mutalisks up now, I've got to say, with a decent amount of Banelings in here as well. These mines are just useless today. Good lord, he's getting nothing out of them.
I mean, we haven't even really seen Terrans today do that much mining. They've been sticking more to the...
guess this is why.
To the Hellbat, yeah, and now Bly is doing something that isn't talked about enough. Spine crawlers are not as good in the mid game, excuse me, not as good in the early game, because you just run up with Marines and kill it. But in the late game here, spine crawlers are very good in the mid and late stages, because look at this, you only ever want to be assaulting those spine crawlers with 5 or 6 Marines, because you're so scared of those Baneling plays.
Yep, and then you can end up losing that. Again, these mines are just...
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus. Happy is not gonna... Well, he never is, but he's certainly not going to be happy about that. Great splits from
Oh.
Happy. Fantastic, but I think there's too many Mutalisks here, honestly. We'll see, though. The count is surprisingly low for Bly. It's actually below 100 supply, which is very weird because it looks like Bly is doing really great pressure, but Happy takes the fourth out again.
But yeah, that drop from Happy, I mean, Happy's multitasking is amazing. His micro with the Marines has been fantastic, but it's really the mines that have been backfiring for Happy. But, I mean, there comes a point where if you have enough Marines and your control of them is good enough, you're inevitably going to be taking the win.
Yeah, and he's taken out both mining bases here for Bly, leaving only a small amount of minerals available at the natural here. So resecuring this is going to be very difficult. The pressure continues. Happy just doesn't micro the Marines at all, which was a little silly, I suppose, but I think he feels like he's got that economic lead and he could just play Sledgehammer from here. He's had 3 bases that have really been unmolested. Not a single Terran worker has died this game. No Ling run-bys, which I think there were definitely opportunities for, at least on the 3rd base. But Bly's just been having to play defensively all the time, so what chance has he had, I suppose, to execute that kind of move?
Really sort of dicey series of decisions for Bly when he started to pull ahead. That rush into the expansion for Happy, almost never going to go well, especially when you're receiving damage. On this map, you can't really afford to do this sort of counter-aggression because if your counter gets stopped at any point, immediately Empire Happy can barrel down on you just like we're seeing.
And Happy is going to secure this win. He's playing very, very safe here. He builds 10 missile turrets. 10! Because he knows, oh, your active standing army right now consists of mutas and really nothing else. So, I'm going to make myself muta-proof, and I'm going to force you to use them defensively so that you can't harass me. Again, no workers killed with that attempt.
Whoa. We see a little bit of overstepping of the bounds. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Huge strike on all those mutas. He's got to be really careful here.
Oh, another one.
It's not.
Really surprised he went after both of those mines. You don't have the DPS to kill them both before they fire off, so you cannot really do that. And that's going to be a real problem, because those are 3-3 Marines now. So those Mutalisks are not going to last long, and Happy knows it. He's going for the 4th again.
Happy has a surprisingly small amount of Marines on the field right now, 45. And those mines are having a little bit longer range than we're normally used to seeing, but right now Bly doesn't have his geysers running. He's on just 4 gas. I don't think there's any way that he can begin to gain momentum unless the Baneling hits are enormous.
He's going to need them to be enormous because he doesn't have the economy to support anything else. He's only on 42 drones, and the Baneling hits are not enormous. Again, it's like 1 per Marine. Happy knows that his opponent can't sustain that level of detonation, so he's going to keep forcing inefficiency. He's going to split completely across an entire screen. Bly looks at it, it's like, there's so few Marines, but I can't use Banelings for this. The mutas are going to have to come in, but even then, if Happy bunches up and fights those Mutalisks, they're still not back up to full health.
I mean, Bly did just perform a nice counterattack at the south side, but only killed 11 workers. Mutalisks are slowly reducing the numbers of these medevacs, but we're seeing Bly continue to rally. We're seeing Happy continue to rally. Oh, he manages to take it out with a target fire. He's going to lose the force, but it doesn't matter.
Mine blows another medevac out of the sky. Just such a silly situation for Happy to be in, but I suppose at least Bly put some kills on the board, and that's equalized quite nicely. As you said, Happy actually has had a fairly low Marine count throughout this entire thing. And right now he's only on 21 of them, and suddenly Bly has at least 8. Well, he's rebuilding that base. There's a Widow Mine borrowed to prevent the other base from going down. There's a Muta counterattack, but Happy was already prepared for it with 4 missile turrets.
I mean, it's one of those things we've talked about before. The best players don't think, how do I win? How do I win? When they get the lead, they think, how do I lose?
Yeah.
And then they just answer that. To say, how do I lose in this spot? Well, it's if that big pack of mutas, which is basically his whole army, if that manages to kill off all my workers in one base, so no big deal. I'm just going to throw down a ton of missile turrets. I mean, that's just such smart decision-making by Happy.
Yeah, it seems almost bronze logic, really, when you think about it. Oh, sorry, do I mean hashtag bronze logic? But in that situation, it's exactly the right thing to do. Oh, there's mutas on the field, and that's really the only way I can lose. I'm just going to build a ton of turrets then, because why not? It did mean that he was building less Marines, but he was getting so much done with so little. A mass amount of Marines didn't really matter at that stage. He's still sitting on 4 bases mining comfortably. He's only ever lost a single kind of round of workers to any kind of attack from Bly, so it's the right way to go.
So smart, so clean. Drops coming up for Happy. He's continuing to maintain this lead. I mean, right now, all Happy needs to do is just stop thirds, because there's no way Bly is going to have enough to keep one of his third bases alive.
Yeah, we'll see. He may be able to pull off some kind of great Baneling hit. He hasn't managed it so far. Now 43 Marines. Happy, for some reason, stims across the map. Looks like he's going to actually move to... Where is he going? Oh, he's going to kill Killer Rocks. Okay, fair enough. He wanted to do that slightly faster than normal, so he's stimmed towards the rocks and is menacing them at this very moment. And in the meantime...
He's so hyped up on adrenaline. He's like, rocks, kill it. All right, stim. All right, let's move over here. Drop, move. Just playing at 1,000 miles an hour.
You know, Happy's Thor count is getting unusually high. He's already on 4, which is more than you would expect. Hey, toss a Thor or 2 into the composition to deal with Muters, great, but 4 or 5 Thors, now that's a little bit different. That is the kind of count that could decimate a Zerg army and just absolutely destroy that Muter flop.
Yeah. I mean, again, what's the way that you lose? If somehow on one of these attacks, a Baneling goes off and you can't retreat and the Mutalisk count's too high, well, sweet, let's just mass Thor it up and destroy it.
He's going for 6. And he's even building Terran building armor and high-sec auto-tracking. I mean, Happy is playing it as safe as you possibly could get from this position. Yeah, maybe another player could have ended it earlier than this, but what if they hadn't? What if that had actually failed? And then the Zerg got back into the game. Bly right now, though, is really running on fumes. There's not much left for him. He does have this one standing army. If he gets a really good engagement with it, he can win. Or at least he can get back into the game. Nice attempt. Ooh, actually, that's a very nice attempt, and Happy doesn't see that at all. Great Baneling connection there into the third. Killed a lot of workers there, and that's definitely going to slow down the economy of the Terran until you realize there's 6 orbital commands on the field. And then, well, maybe not so much.
Jeez, there's so many Thors. I mean, it's basically having like a range 12 mine.
Yeah.
Just shooting at you.
Except it doesn't shoot your own dudes, so that's even better for Happy.
Best possible mine, NA. We see the burrowed Banelings. I mean, Bly's running on hope right now, and I don't dislike this. Because keep in mind, this is an all-kill format.
Yeah.
Happy is going to have to go up against someone else in just a moment. So if Bly can exhaust Happy as much as possible, that can benefit DIMAGA, who has to be sent out next.
Yeah, he is the only one left, and it's unlikely that Bly comes back from this position. It would require... even great Baneling hits, there are still 6 Thors, so even if all the Marines die, that's still 6 Thors. And that's difficult to kill at the best of times, so the link count is not high enough, not even close to being high enough. Drop comes into the main base as well, killing yet more Mutalisks out of this count, which is, you know... Let's be honest, Happy doesn't care about those 8 Marines, but Bly certainly cares about those 23 Muters.
Looks like it might be the time for the final death push. 6, the perfect number of Thors, because who doesn't love Thors? And that's the answer. So now we see the step forward, we see the scan. Happy is doing a mix of hyper-aggression while still carefully avoiding fungal growths and whatnot.
Jeez. That fungal might have been the worst in history, locking down a Thor and a mine, killing neither of them, of course. And in comes the final engagement, and Bly already taking huge salvos. The Banelings do not detonate on anything worthwhile. They just run headlong into the Thor's face first. Exactly how you would expect it. Finally, for Happy, 31 minutes in, the mines actually connect with something that isn't Terran and GG.
And there it is. Happy. Marking a win down. 1 win for Titan, 1 win for Happy. It's all going to be up to DIMAGA to try to pull a comeback.
Well, if you're going to have an ace, it might as well be DIMAGA, because he's pulled that stuff off before. He's incredibly good. And in my opinion, like every matchup he's really, really good in. So I would expect a pretty fantastic game. Happy versus DIMAGA. Most likely going to be an epic one.
I mean, I think that it would be hard not to. I do think DIMAGA has a heavy favorite. I mean, seeing the way that DIMAGA dismantled Hero Marine, despite encountering problems along the way, almost no way Happy is going to be playing much better than Hero Marine can. So I think that still it's going to be pretty similar to the previous result of DIMAGA versus of Hero Marine. I'm very excited to see DIMAGA in this matchup again.
Yeah, he's been playing so well up to this point, and he's clearly been the guy on this team. Although, to be fair, that is actually discrediting unfairly the rest of the Ukrainian team. I mean, Cass did great work, and as did Bly. It's just, they seem like one of the most balanced teams. I'd even say they're more balanced than Russia and Germany. And Russia does have two incredible players in the form of Titan and Happy. And then they've got sLivko, who's a bit of an unknown quantity. He did do the work. He has actually won a game for them. And I don't think he's even dropped a game because he was actually sent out last, and they only had to send out a player last once because Russia went through in first place in Group A. So sLivko is a little bit of an unknown to me right now because, like, his success was about a year ago, and I haven't really seen him play too much since then. But the Ukrainian team, like, there is no weak link on there, but I think DIMAGA is maybe a slight step above the other two.
Yeah, I think DIMAGA is probably one of the 3 strongest players in the entire Nation Wars. Well-rounded in all matchups. I do think he might have a slight weak point against sLivko, who has really impressed me in Zerg vs. Zerg, having taken out Koreans at WCS with just this odd mass Hydra play. But given, you know, the propensity for DIMAGA to do that sort of Baneling Roach play, I think that he'll be able to at least show us a fantastic game. Happy, I mean, I can't see him having an easy time against DIMAGA. I almost feel like Happy should do something cheesy.
Happy doing something cheesy is actually more likely than you might expect. Has been known to happen. He can do some strange things, especially with Hellions, which is a good thing to do against a Zerg player. Derelict Watcher will be the venue for this encounter here.
Oh, interesting. Now, that's a small map where, you know, early mistakes up to, you know, 12, 13 minutes can immediately end the game.
Looks like we're going right into this one. It will, of course, take us a few minutes, most likely, to get all of the observers in here. That's the main problem with it.
Quite standard.
Yes, that is very true. So many languages. I believe, I think Emil is doing the Spanish cast. We, of course, have Pomfetude on the French end of things. Take TV. Actually, I'm completely wrong. Emil actually is doing Polish? Is that Polish? I think it might be.
May very well be.
It could be Alex007 doing the Spanish cast. And then, of course, Take TV doing the German cast. Oh, is Alex the Russian one? It's hard to know with all of these. Like, yeah, that's the...
3-3 Torres 0-1.
Yes, that's definitely Russian. Okay, I just put that on there. It's like, and I heard, Ed Tri Torres. Oh, okay, right. That's definitely Russian. Okay, we got that. All right, so yes, that's actually the Virtus Pro stream. So, that's a...
Derelict Watcher, wow.
All right. Cool little selection of languages we've got going on here.
Absolutely. Always great to see, you know, nation wars being broadcast to many nations. It both makes sense and is sensical.
That's absolutely true. So we're going on to Derelict Watcher right here. And Sean, I believe you need a quick break.
You know, as amazing as I am at holding a TotalBiscuit, I'm going to let you handle the start of the game.
I will handle this. Don't worry about it. Everyone understands the bio play. So, without further ado, let's get in here on Derelict Watcher. And DIMAGA has got to do work because Team Russia is rolling, as always, to the northeast position, sponsored by Rockat, a personal sponsorship now. The last man standing for Team Ukraine, and of course their captain in the red trunks playing Zerg. It's DIMAGA. Versus his opponent to the southwest position, the captain of Team Russia, the ever stoic, ever grim, but ever great, Empire Happy. He is often blue, dabba-dee dabba-die. That is true. He does not necessarily live up to his namesake, but I think that's also a joke that has been made at least 20 times during this nation war, so I should probably just dial it back a little bit. But as you are well aware, my humor is based entirely on recycled nonsense. What can I say? I'm green. Alright, let's see what Happy comes up with. Will he decide to go for the cheese? They do have one more player remaining, but that is sLivko in a ZVZ against DIMAGA. Happy is not building a barracks. Is he actually going to go for CC first on a map like Derelict Watcher? And this is a pretty small map, although DIMAGA's tendencies do not necessarily go in for cheese or early aggression. We're gonna have to... Absolutely, we're gonna see a CC first here from Happy. On the high ground, surely, you would never... Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, putting it on the low ground, that would be a little bit insane on a two-player map like this. But going for it on the high ground, alright, well, that's a nice little start here for Happy. And as it turns out, he goes up against Hatchery first play from DIMAGA, straight into pool, which is totally fine. He doesn't have to worry about any aggression coming early on. And DIMAGA can break out something like a bust, but in the current environment, the current atmosphere, it's very unlikely to happen. So I think we could end up seeing a much longer game from DIMAGA and Happy here. Happy setting himself up quite nicely in the long haul, but he is going to get his gas. He's not going to go gasless for too long. Doesn't want to risk that. We'll be able to get his stim just a little later than normal, his combat shield just a little bit later than normal, and also electing simply not to scout with the Reaper. He's not going to be building one at all by the looks of it. And Happy will simply move across the map with this SCV. He'll spot exactly what he needs to spot, and he'll realize, yeah, you know what? That was a good opening. I did the right thing here. DIMAGA can't really do too much to me. So we can continue from this position. DIMAGA is always going for the double queen immediately there, and he may even build more than that. He is actually building 8 lings. That's an unusual number. It's not going to get much... 10 lings. Ho, ho, ho. All right. That's not really going to get much done, and DIMAGA doesn't know what he's up against here. That said... If Happy decides to get a little... Good lord. He is going... even more lings coming out here. If Happy decides to get a bit greedy and move down to the low ground with that CC early... This could do a lot, but he didn't do that. He built the CC on the high ground, used it as part of the wall-off, and Happy, I think, has already realized... Actually, I don't know if he has realized how many lings there are out on the map, because DIMAGA's hiding them, and that's really sneaky.
Oh, and the CV in the corner dies.
He didn't see all of those lings. That was so cool by DIMAGA.
DIMAGA is a bastard. How much does he have? 14 Zerglings. There's 2 SCVs being transferred south, and I think that this is an incredibly subtle play that we're seeing out of Happy. Transfers 2 SCVs unnecessarily to the expansion. He's not saturated in his main, but he needs those to be able to repair a bunker in case exactly this sort of attack happens.
And what we saw out of Happy, since you're just coming back, is a CC first on the high ground up against a Hatchery first play. DIMAGA going in there for a full surround on this bunker. Happy is not pulling SCVs to repair it at all. He's actually going to let that die. And DIMAGA with the surround kills all the Marines and is now running right in. Happy's not reacting at all to this.
What happened? What happened to Empire's Happy, Snip Snappy, Reacty?
I don't know, but these SCVs are now running across the map. He's going to sacrifice 5 or 6 SCVs to keep these lings away. I mean, this is actually a slow ling play, by the way. There's still... The gas only just went down for DIMAGA. He did all of this on no gas at all.
Wow, and I think Happy
he got away with that. Yeah. He ran his SCVs all the way across the map and pulled them back.
He's like, well, I mean, you got the bunker and the Marines, and whatever. To hell with bunkers and Marines, man. Let's do the normal plan. And now everyone's back to work.
Just keep calm and carry on, I think, is the play here from Happy. That was really a very, very smart thing to do, because you're thinking, why on earth is he running his SCVs away? Why is he sacrificing them? Then he suddenly realized, hang on a minute. SCVs don't die to slow lings if they keep going in the same direction. He can actually do that. And he picked up on the fact that there's no way DIMAGA could have gone gas here. There's too many lings. There's no way he's got speed. He's invested purely into ling. So I'm actually under no threat here. And the amount of workers killed? A paltry 3.
A paltry 3, you say?
Indeed.
That language, TB. I'm loving it.
Follow-up from Happy's going to be a Cloaked Banshee.
Smartest play ever. I mean, I have just seen my opponent do a play that interrupts their ability to get any tech. What halts Banshees? Mutalisks. That's the key tech that will finally cause that to end, and when you see 14 Zerglings out of nowhere, you know the Mutatech is delayed. DIMAGA's doing a smart but tough spot. He's saying, you know what, I need to be able to at least answer the ground aggression of the Hellions, so my queens can do their best up against this Banshee production. And he's going for a Roach. It's completely understandable. He's probably going to try to minimize the amount of Roaches he does build. But we're seeing the transition to Mech out of Happy.
Oh, yes.
Mech.
Very cool. And that is, to be honest, what we've seen from Happy in the past. He is a very competent Mech player in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. Cloak has finished. The Banshee not going in yet. He's waiting for the second Banshee, looking for... I think that's a lot of Hellions. 11 Hellions and 2 Cloaked Banshees. That
for sure.
We are seeing the Queen, the heavier Queen play here from DIMAGA, which will help, but there's enough stuff here, I think, for DIMAGA to be certainly under threat. Even Happy, you know, which you usually don't see this at this point in the game, is able to scan and actually kill creep tumors.
Yeah. I mean, he is going to completely deny all possible creep spread. And here come the Cloaked Banshees. The Overseer's nearly done, and they're instantly assaulting. Will he lose the high-energy Queen? So good by Happy to target the highest energy Queen's first 2 fall.
Queen stuck at the front!
Seconds.
Oh, man! All the Queens are going down here. There's not... Well, there are enough Roaches to throw back the Hellions, but that doesn't answer the problem of these Banshees. There's quite a few of them, however. There is the Overseer in play, so he saves those 2 Queens, but that's 2 Queens for 3 bases, which, I mean, for a normal Zerg, that's bad. For DIMAGA, that's potentially disastrous. He relies so much on those Queens.
I mean, the 2 Banshees still alive. One's about to run out of energy for Cloak, and that doesn't change the fact that each shot does 24 damage.
Take a little longer to kill the Roaches with that +2 ground carapace, but regardless, +1 in fact, +2 armor is the total amount that they have, but Happy now needing to back away with the Banshees. Excellent control once again from Happy, really impressive. Maybe could have picked off 2 more Roaches there, but those Banshees were so low on health, so he had to get out of there.
Completely agree on that analysis. That was magnificent control. Magnificent. Look at them. They have no energy. I mean, it's so funny because the closer you get to 0 without dying, the awesomer you are. But the instant you hit 0, it's like, oh, dude, you're the worst.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he should have pulled it back. What an impetuous blighter.
I mean, it's so hard to look that good, but, you know, that attack, that sequence is precisely why I think Empire Happy's play is so smart. But now we have to take a moment to talk about Mech. Is Mech good on this map? The open spaces would suggest no. Very weak play to go Mech, because how the hell do you secure a 4th base with Mech? It's so far away. Tanks have to be sieged, mines have to be planted, Hellbats and Thors are slow as is, but keep in mind that the push distances are incredibly short, so you don't have to do that many sieging, unsiegings to finish a player off. This means that Happy is functionally going to be doing a big 3-base push, likely at around 160 to 200 supply, to try to kill DIMAGA in one blow. And if that doesn't go well, then Happy is in a lot of trouble. So it's a fast Viper tech for DIMAGA, and he's building just 3 Mutalisks to trick Happy into overreacting to it.
Now, there was an interesting tech choice here as well by DIMAGA, and that's he built a Hydra Den along with his Spire. Now, what exactly... Well, obviously, he's going to do one thing with that, that's build Hydras, but would he even decide to do that? I'm thinking of Starbow. It's like, he's going Lurker! What a fantastic plan! But no. How useful do you feel Hydras really are against a Mech composition?
Well, what's interesting is that they are pretty fast. So you think about that line moving in. The thing that Hydras really struggle against are obviously going to be the tanks, but against the Hellbats at the front, with the move speed, you know, kicking in, they can actually out-kite Hellbats. So it becomes very difficult for Happy to advance forward if there's a significant Hydra Roach army. In terms of just brunt damage, sure, if you get a big, you know, Zergling Hydra force, you can overrun pretty dang well, but this is nearly perfect theoretical play by DIMAGA. You want to spread out against Mech. You want to have as many bases as possible to prevent Happy from having a good, clear, clean target. In particular, bottom right and top.
DIMAGA's been focusing really heavily on his armor upgrades. He's actually just started +3. He's working on his +1 missile attack right now, but what do you reckon to the decision to go purely into those carapace upgrades?
I think that it is his way of saying, I'm going to be building a mix of ranged units and melee units. I'm going to be going Roach, Ling, Hydra in some mix. So he kind of wants to alternate on the attack upgrades because he's already gotten Zerglings all the way up to +2. But he wants to make sure that his range stuff is up to snuff as well.
Happy doing work with these Banshees. They're back in play. 14 kills on one, 10 kills on another. He has killed ridiculous amounts of drones.
Jesus.
35, 36, 37, and finally they go down. DIMAGA just builds a bunch more drones, 22, and goes to Broodlords. But I guess that's what happens when you're on 5 bases. But that was a huge amount of damage inflicted here.
Now, DIMAGA, he's the crossbow cocking back. If he pulls all the way back and releases, he is going to shatter this push from Happy in one swoop. Ultralisks with Blinding Cloud. It's going to be gruesome. But Happy is attacking, not just at the perfect time, but at an ideal angle. This is the only way he can secure this 4th base, is with an attack this potent.
It's going to force DIMAGA to defend. Doesn't really have a choice in the matter. These roaches are making their way in. There's already plenty of tanks to start gunning that down. Vipers coming in, and actually no siege up from Happy, so the Vipers Blinding Cloud don't do a huge amount here. However, the roaches now able to crash in.
I mean, this is a little bit of a confusing placement from Happy, but, I mean, it doesn't really matter with 2-2 tanks. You only need about 4 or 5 tanks in good positions to just wreck roach forces, but we see precisely why DIMAGA spreads his expansions out like this. He's going to pull his drones to bottom right and try to regroup with stronger forces.
Well, DIMAGA loses one of his outlying bases. He does have plenty more of them, but he looks like he's going to lose a bit of a more important one here as well. 61 drones have been killed. There's 80 SCVs. Happy, interestingly enough, actually switched over to something we very rarely see, which is the high, I think it's called the high impact payload there.
Mm-hmm.
With the, the 250mm Punisher cannons, which are good single target damage.
Yeah, he's trying to just pick off the Vipers as fast as possible with incidental shots, whereas most of the time he's going to be firing at ground. The tanks are sieging. DIMAGA has to pull back. He has to pull back.
He can't go into this, surely.
Oh, no.
It's a massacre. There's so much mech firepower here. GG!
GG! That gets knocked out by Russia.
The Hell March from Happy right there. Good lord. That was a mech and a half. That was really good. And DIMAGA not able to handle that at all. And the funny thing is, he almost got to the point where he could have. Almost.
Yeah. I mean, it was fantastic timing by Happy to say, well, okay, well, you're doing the everything tech. You're going Hive Air Ultra double upgrade quadruple expand. The best way to prevent you from doing that is to kill you. So, I mean, again, if you get a little too scared and you think, ooh, I need to get the right units up for all of that, you're just going to fall apart.
And he did. Oh, he did. Really nice play there by Russia. They go to the finals, and Ukraine, a very strong team, goes down to face off
against Germany.
Yeah. Germany in the 3rd place match. And that's
kind of
a crazy 3rd place match, really, isn't it? We're going to see Norway versus Russia in the finals.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that, you know, I think a lot of people would be surprised at, because I think everyone said that either one of Germany or Ukraine is going to be in there.
Yeah.
They should probably both be in the finals. And now here we have the ever-strong Russia, backed by Happy and Titan's consistent play, plus the Norwegian team, which are the big upset specials of this tournament. I mean, especially Ike, who played sensationally versus TLO.